Hello, good afternoon, everyone. We finally made it to afternoon. I'm gonna have a conversation with you guys. We're gonna have an intellectual talk. It's gonna be on spiritual domination. We were having this conversation, for the past hour or whatever, and I thought that it was really, something that I wanted to share with you guys. So, a spiritual domination. And spiritual domination is usually done to what? To what? For spiritual correction, right? This type of spiritual domination is done for correction. When somebody's dominating you, they're trying to correct you. They're trying to correct a behavior that they do not like within you. And that is why a person is dominating you. To correct something they do not like within you. They want to keep you around, they want you around, but they don't like something within you. So they dominate you. But in this case, we're talking about spiritual domination where people use religion, their position as a religious leader, or some type of, it's religion to you guys who use it, but like some type of black magic or, spell or something to try and dominate another person. You're doing it for correction, right? Most people who use these spells that we were talking about, the love spells, you don't like the fact that a person doesn't want you. So what do? You try and dominate them spiritually by putting a love spell on them. By putting I can't think of the actual word I want to use, but by um, a binding spell. Yeah, you put a binding spell on a person to keep them bound to you, or you put a love spell on a person to make them fall in love with you. And that love spell is definitely temporary. That's something that you have to do on a continual basis. Because if the person doesn't, they're not genuinely interested in you, why would they fall in love with you naturally? They won't. So, well, they could. They could. I mean, if your personality is cool or whatever, if you're semi what they're looking for, you put a love spell on them, it's possible. But, I mean, ultimately, if a person really isn't feeling you, they're not feeling you. And you'll even lose interest in them, right? Most people who put love spells on a person, that's something you want right then and there. It's not something you want long term. Why? Because you're not working towards getting it long term. You're not trying to be a person's friend to build a relationship. You just want what you want right now. I want it now attitude, right? It's my money and I want it now. This is gonna be my man and I want him now attitude. This is my woman and I want her now attitude, instead of working towards getting that person. So that's where all the spells and stuff come in at. And the spiritual domination starts because, like I said, you want to correct the behavior in someone. There's people who put spells on people to just make them listen, right? To make them not, to make them a not a zombie or anything like that. Just to have a person do everything you tell them to do. Like, say a guy has a wife and she's out of order and doesn't listen, and he wants to, you know, have her in control. Well, he goes the spiritual route, puts something on her, and now he's able to dominate her, quiet her down. That type of deal. Um, Spiritual domination is definitely rampant right now. A lot of people are using that. They've been using it, but now it's highly visible. It's highly understood what is taking place now. Before, people didn't understand what was going on. They was like, "What is this mess?" Right? But now you understand why you like this dude that you ain't never liked, and you only had one dinner with him. You only went out for a drink with him. You pulled up nowadays. You pulled up and had an L, smoked some weed with him. Now you like, I can't get over this guy, but I ain't never, wasn't feeling them before we smoked the weed, right? Or before our first date, right? So, absolutely. So, I don't have a problem with saying right. I think I told y'all before. It be God and my husband co-signing. Because when I'm just talking to my husband, all that right stuff don't come out. He be co-signing what I'm saying, right? It drives me crazy. Correct the mundo. See, he playing right now. Okay, now. So, and that's spiritual dominance right there. I'm talking, he gotta make himself known, right? Right, he's dominating me during my conversation, right? He's not gonna stop because that's the type of man he is, right? I don't worry about it. See, We have a contract with God. So his is lightweight dominance spiritually. But, right, when a person wants to correct a behavior or be seen, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about spiritual domination or spiritual correction. So, well, let's go there though. Some people do want to spiritually dominate you to change you into their clone and to change you into them, to change you how, right. So this is how they want you to be. Like I said, spiritual correction. But there are some who want to dominate you so you can be just like them and do the things they do, especially if they're a horrible person, right? Horrible people want to create other, right, horribilities, right? Other horrible people want to create horribilities, right? Other people just like them that are horrible, right? But your horribility end up being way worse than you, right? So let's take a look at some things, because this is a conversation, but it still has some of my psychological stuff in it. I did a little bit of I put some cards, a couple cards out and things, because this was a very, very good conversation, and people, were like, well, like what's really like the signs and symptoms, like what's up? Let's have a deeper conversation. And all people are using, so let's go there. Like, you're indulging in, you know, falsehoods, many bad behaviors, the drugs, the alcohol. It ain't satisfying, y'all. It's definitely not satisfying, y'all, because it keeps you up at night. And what do you end up doing? A lot of you, like I said, you turn it to bisexuality. You turn to bisexuality, right? And some bestiality, right? Some people even turn, right, because the bisexuality isn't enough. So that demon within you wants something more deeper, something more sinister. So you go into bestiality, correct? Right. And you're definitely a bunch of domestic violence folks. Right. You're victims and you're abusers. Right. And can't nobody tell you nothing, of course. Can't nobody tell you nothing. You're highly venomous. Right. You're venomous. I mean, you're trying to correct somebody spiritually. They didn't ask to be corrected. And furthermore, you're using the spiritual correction. Why? Why are you using spiritual domination? Because you know this person doesn't want to change. They don't want to follow your program. So what are you doing? You're doing it on the sneak, on the slide, right? You're trying to dominate, change someone who does not want to be changed. So you're trying to correct the behavior that you don't like, that person does not have a problem with, and you're doing it in a sneaky manner. So you yourself need correction, because you don't know how to find the type of person that you like who does what you do, what you find acceptable. Instead of finding a person who does what you find acceptable, you want to use your spiritual stuff to dominate a person, to change a behavior that you don't find appeasing. Right? It's just so much easier to go out and find a person who is close to what you find acceptable as a mate. It really is. I mean, some people are so into dominating others spiritually, they do it to friends, quote unquote. Right, friends. Now, these are people who are supposed to be like-minded like you. But when they get out of order, right, what do? When they get out of order, when they piss you off, when their kids piss you off, you run and do your little spiritual stuff on them. You do. The next thing you know, you're getting this phone call like, girl, you won't believe what happened to me. Oh, man, you won't believe what happened. Right. And they know what happened. Well, they don't know what happened, but they waiting for some type of phone call from you because they did it. Right. Right. So, like I said, some people get so trapped into the spiritual domination that they do it to their quote-unquote friends, right? That person is not your friend. This person is just psychotic, right? Oh, my gosh. I guess allergy season is starting. It really is. So excuse me for all of that. I'm definitely not rude like that. So that's when you start doing what? Doing what? You're so venomous to others, you're hurting yourself. You're venomous to others, you're hurting yourself. How are you hurting yourself? With spiritual domination, you're hurting yourself because ultimately these relationships that you have with these people are not genuine. You're constantly in a state of hiding Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type deal. You're a Dr. Jekyll. Every time I want to say that lately. You're a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde person. Most definitely when you're spiritually dominating someone. And you end up hurting yourself because you are not who you claim to be. This person can never get close to you. For real, for real. These people can never get close to you. For real, because you have a secret. You dominate people spiritually with spells. So you'll never allow people to get really close to you. If you allow people at your house, trust me, your altars and stuff, you got to move, you got to hide, you got to do stuff with that so people stay out of your business. Or you just have a whole nother place for that set up altogether. So you're spending a lot of time thinking about how you can hide what you do from others. Now, once you, so you're spending a lot of energy hiding what you truly do and who you really are. So you're not your true self with these people. And you're always playing both sides, always playing all sides, playing any side, right? Because you're a trickster. You are definitely a trickster. You're calling on spirits. Spirits are your friends, right? These spirits get so ridiculous, so hungry. You're constantly feeding them. From what I hear people say, you have to feed your spirits. If you're not feeding your spirits spirits are whooping on your behind. From what I hear. You can tell a shift when you're not taking care of your spirit. So, spiritual domination is whooping on you, right? That's how you end up hurting yourself, because you are feeding a spirit, taking care of a spirit who you are using, an intranquil spirit, who you are using to whoop on someone else. They're also whooping on you when the food is not together, when you don't satisfy them in whatever way they want to be satisfied. So the intranquil spirit is tearing up your behind. So you're spending a lot of time hiding what you do. You're not your true self. And then you're spending a lot of time with spirits and feeding spirits. So you spend a lot of time alone as well, because how can you explain to people that you are feeding spirits? That you have an intranquil spirit, that you have to give food, shelter, clothing, whatever it wants. You have to give to it whatever it wants. How do you explain that to people who are not into that? How do you explain, that's what I do in order to hurt you when I get mad at you and you don't know it's me? How do you explain that to a person? You don't. So you spend a lot of time by yourself. And even if you are in a clique of people who do what you do, who do know what you do, right, you already know all of y'all are doing it to each other, right? So you're spending time also trying to protect yourself, because you are within a circle of people who know what you do. You have to group up and find out how to do all these spells some kind of way. So usually your teacher is messing with you too. If you're new into the game and you have a teacher who's teaching you this black magic stuff, trust me, that teacher is using stuff on you too, because what are they doing now? They are spiritually dominating you as well. They're using spiritual domination on you to keep you a student. They want to keep you a student, and they want to receive all the money they can get from you to buy their products, right? To teach you how to do these spells, right? They have you running around raggedy, doing all kinds of stuff, buying all kinds of stuff, and then eventually they use your products for themselves as well. You end up sending them your products, right? So that's how spiritual domination is done. And like I said, they do it for correction, to remove behaviors from you that they do not see fit. So, the spiritual domination is also done because you're a defiant person or you're an arrogant person. And this person is just doing it to break you down. Some people don't even want an actual relationship with you. They just see you and want to break you down. So they find some type of way, I don't know how spells are done, but they find some type of way to get something of yours, contact with you. I have no clue. But they find a way to get at you if you are an arrogant or a defiant person, whether they know you or not. Some people just get a kick out of knowing, I sent a spell. I may never know if it works, but guess what? I sent a spell, right? Because some people see people, can't stand them. and go home and try and put a spell on a person they don't know at all, and that is their only contact with them ever. But just the fact that I'm at home putting a spell on somebody who doesn't know and I don't know, and I'll never know what happens to this person. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, right? They get a kick out of that, right? A lot of people who do that stuff do it to arrogant people. You don't have to know this person, never seen this person, but they've seen you, and they've seen you maybe in an arrogant mode or a defiant mode, and they go home and handle you, and and don't know nothing about you ever. That's how vicious and venomous these people can get. Right? Their core is totally evil. Trust me, their cores are totally evil. People who do spells and use spells, their core is evil. There is no way. They're greedy at first. If they do love spells, they're greedy. If they do the other types of spells, then their core is evil. I heard so many of them talking about protecting themselves at the same time as hearing how they send out spells. You send out spells, but then try and protect yourself. That is the craziest thing. Accept your punishment, accept your karma, because it's going to come regardless. Right? When you send anything out, God is in control. So you can protect yourself with whatever herb, whatever amulet you want to, with whatever mantra you choose. But God still has control. He still says, no, you're going to get your karma. Right? You wanted someone's child dead? Well, now that you're pregnant, hey, you know. Or maybe your born child died, or maybe your favorite niece or nephew passed away. Who knows? That's why you don't wish bad on anyone. You don't do that. If you get mad to the point to where you wish death on a person, guess what? You are a hateful person in your core. You truly are. You're a hateful person in your core. Now, I mean, like, if I'm arguing with you and I don't like you and I hate you, I wish you was dead. That's different. But if I'm like, I wish your daughter was dead, your sister was dead, your grandmother, somebody who doesn't have anything to do with you and I arguing and me hating you, and I'm wishing them dead, I am an evil person to the core. Because I may hate you and want you dead because you're an abuser, that type of deal. But for me to wish your mother and your grandmother, your uncle and aunt and uncle and sister and all that dead, I'm evil to the core. All right. So, and these people who spiritually dominate people, they're easily aggravated. Everything bothers them, so it doesn't matter. It's not one of those, well, what did I do to them? You woke up that day and got in their eyesight. You were on their mind if they know you personally, right? You crossed their mind, you crossed their path. They might have seen somebody, you might have commented on somebody's, social media site, so now you're a target for them. Trust me, it's a lot of people who you don't know who are into the dark arts, and what do? See, dark arts, the arts, when I say arts, it's a beautiful thing when it's a study and not hurting people. For me, dark arts is like, skeletons, all of that stuff like that. Studying skeletons, studying the different knives, and studying, different folklore, stuff like that. To me, that's the dark arts. Understanding why you cut chickens and stuff like that. That's dark arts. But putting spells on people and zombieing people, to me, that's total evil. That's not a dark art. You are a dark, demonic being. So when I say dark arts, I truly mean stuff like that. Like, dark paintings and, stuff like that, right? Like murder, death, kill stuff. No, not that. So it doesn't even matter, because you could just, this person could just see you on another person's social media commenting, and y'all not even friends, and they will, they can do stuff to you just because that's them. They're dark and ignorant to the core. And ultimately, they will receive their karma, and they will receive that big old crushing, right? You will never get away from hurting someone. If you really think you're going to get away with hurting a person and not get your just due, you are sadly mistaken. I know I spelled that wrong. That's funny. Right. I like catching myself. That's cute though. Because even though it's a typo, it still makes sense though. Right. It's supposed to say deeper, but it says dear. Right. You got your ears all up in somebody's business, right? You all up in somebody's business heavy, right? You couldn't get deep, you had to get dear on them, right? You had to get dearer on them, right? So what happened was you had to get bulk on them. You was all up in somebody's business, right? There you go. You was all up in somebody's business so heavy that you pissed your own self off, and you had to get bulk on them, right? And that's usually why people still, right? And that's another reason why people out here spiritually dominating a person, right? You was all up in somebody's business so hard, you got your own feelings hurt, and now you want to put a spell on someone, right? What I always say, what people say about me ain't none of my business. I heard that somewhere, but so what people say about me is not my business. Talk about me all you want to, just don't throw it in my face. I don't need to know you're talking about me. I already know you hate me. So, right, to make sure that I know you're talking about me, you're evil to the core. You have nothing better to do. And you know I'm not paying you no attention. And you're not getting your fill. You're not getting your cookies rocked, right? You're not getting your I can't think of it. But right now your jollies, right? You're not getting your jollies if I don't know you hate me. Well, I know. I know. So it's enough now. Right. It's enough now. Right. It's enough. And that's what people do. When you don't pay them any attention and you know they hate you and you could care less, that spell stuff starts coming out. Right. Right. You don't ever give an imitation a congratulations. Don't do it. And that will keep you trapped up in their gray areas. They will definitely keep you trapped up in their gray lifestyle. In their gray lifestyle. Right. People will take you from the light to the gray if you let them. You don't go to the dark if you're all in the light. You do go to the gray when you got to clap back. Right. You go to the gray when you clap back. And these people are dark. They can't never come out the dark. So, right, you're in the gray area clapping at them. So you're still looking down on them. Right. So I don't even know why you're bothering doing it. Keep going up. Right. Keep elevating. Right. The only real people that this spiritual domination affects is people who are into it. People who aren't living correctly. Right. We already know people who haven't accepted Jesus Christ, their Lord and Savior. You know, all that good stuff. People who aren't even interested in God in real life. Right. So when you go against the grain gets you, right? You get unplugged from the real plug, God, right? So when you go against the grain, right, you end up unplugged from the real plug, which is God, right? And a lot of times too, it's for sexual pleasure. And these people are spiritually dominating you. They're dominating you for sexual pleasure, right? So. And you end up in the deepest, darkest place possible. Dealing with a person who is spiritually dominating you, who wants to correct the behavior within you, they take you to the lowest places possible. They break you, right? They break you with that spiritual stuff, real hard and heavy. You take a walk in the dark, not the park, and it's what they call the dark night of the soul. When you're going through what people have been calling the dark night of the soul, that means somebody has spiritually dominated you, and they are spiritually correcting you, and they are spiritually breaking you. They are breaking your good spirit, right, to fill you with all the bad and the evil, right? Exactly. So, and that's when you voluntarily give yourself over to that. That's how you go through a dark night of the soul. You give yourself over spiritually to that. You have to say, yes, I do. And that's when you go through your dark night of the soul, your spiritual breaking, right? That's when you're allowing the person to break your good spirit up and weave in that nasty, right? That dark, right? Everything dark comes your way. And you end up with the wildest fetishes. And you wish you ain't never in your life come across this person. And this is when you're volunteering now. We're in the voluntary. Before, that was when somebody was being spooky and hiding on you. But now we're in the voluntary. You're volunteering to be spiritually dominated. You are volunteering to be. See, in the beginning, I was just giving you a general Then I went to people who don't know they're being dominated. And then I went to people who says, yes, do dominate me. So we're at people who say, yes, do dominate me. And of course, this person love bombs you to get you to say yes, right? They do. They love bomb you. I forgot what that phase is, but yeah, they love bomb you and then they ghost you. And I mean, they love bomb you, they ghost you, then they come back and they feed you all the spiritual stuff, and then they, love bomb you real good with the spiritual stuff, make you feel like you're the best woman in the world, best man in the world, and then they get back out on you, right? They leave again. They ghost you again. And this is a cycle that you continuously go through until they discard you, if that's what they choose to do. Some of them make you a long-term partner if you are, willing. Then you're a long-term partner until they find something better. If it's a guy, because guys always find a better chick, right? Women will stick with you, but dudes, no, they change their chicks if they find something hotter and better, right? And more fiery with the spiritual stuff. They definitely will replace you, but the women will keep you if they changed you, right? So if you're a volunteer, trust me, you're being totally manipulated by the person. Even though you are volunteering, they're still manipulating you. Oh, can you? I know you want to. Oh, we gotta, they still manipulate you the same way a person would manipulate you in the regular world, right? It's no different. You ain't so spiritual and filled with spirits that this person still can't manipulate you, because yes, they are, right? What are you now? You're spiritually, you say, yeah, I'll take the spiritual domination. Well, they manipulated you into doing that with the love bombing and the ghosting, and then the coming back, love bombing you and filling you with all the spiritual stuff, and then leaving you again, right? Making that a cycle in your life. And you end up hating yourself, and you end up hating this person, and then that's where you go out and start spiritually dominating other people, right? And you see how this cycle goes. So I'm gonna end this because it's almost 30 minutes. Oh man. And a lot of these people end up mimicking others, right? Once you're spiritually dominated voluntarily, right, and you are a spiritual dominator, you are also a mimicker of everything that you see. You are not your true self. You are not a real person. You pick up whatever, you easily switch. You easily change the way you act because you can't be yourself. So you're constantly mimicking what you see so you could fit in. You're a chameleon. And that's where I'm going with that. You're a chameleon, right? And you're always socially, economically wounded, right? You are socially and economically wounded. You can't keep any money. You can't keep any friends, right? You can't keep it together, right? Like I said, these people are what? Constantly moving around, switching around. They can't, hang with a clique unless their clique is like themselves, right? But then those cliques change as well. Especially if you met each other later on. If these are cliques that grew up together, then they stay together, a lot of them. Not everybody stays in a group, but, they stay together and keep in contact. But if you just met and you call yourself clicking up, people change cliques that get into that spiritual domination. If you're not really friends that grew up together or whatever, you end up, switching your cliques, right? You can't be faithful to anybody. So within that, like, all kinds of secrets get out. If you, right, everything about your group gets out. Each sect start probably fighting with each other spiritually. The spiritual thing never stops. Because why? Right, a lot of them are narcissists. It is a lot of narcissists, textbook narcissists. Well, beyond textbook, because we have added some things to that book that weren't there before, right? If that's the case, everybody was a narcissist, right? But, there are some true narcissists that are within these sectors. That's how they continue. Definitely, these spiritual dominators, they are definitely narcissistic. Spiritual dominators are narcissistic. They have all the criteria. And I told you, incest is definitely the criteria. If you're without incest, you're not narcissistic, right? You have to have an incestuous past yourself to be narcissistic, right? So if you weren't sleeping with your parents, or if you weren't sleeping with a relative, then you are not narcissistic. If you had no sexual encounter, not just one, I mean encounters on a regular basis, then you are not a narcissist, right? And I'm not saying willingly either, right? It could be forced as well. So, and that's why a lot of them are narcissists, because the sex was forced on them as children, right? So, narcissists are born as children. I mean, not born as children. Well, yeah, narcissist is born in a child, right? The child isn't born a narcissist, if you understand what I'm saying. Narcissism is born within a child. And incest is the number one criteria. It's a must. Incest is a must if you call someone narcissistic, right? Because you have to have gone through some serious trauma for your mind to flip, for you to be malicious, to want to take people down with black magic, and they don't even know. And these people, a lot of them aren't even bothering you. Just go punch the person in the face, right? Right, versus spending 5 years messing them up spiritually, right? Right. So I'm gonna end this, right? Because we went over 30. And you have a great afternoon. We'll see what else we come back with, all right? Spiritual domination. Spiritual domination, at least, is spiritual correction. Excuse me, spiritual domination done for spiritual correction was this. Spiritual domination done for spiritual correction, right? Because there's spiritual domination for other things. I listed them. But this one is for correction, all right? Have a great one.